Greetings, everyone. I'm Steve McPhail, the Director of Studies at OET Online. And today we're going to look at PTE prep and the Read Aloud section. That's the very first thing that you'll do on exam day. So let's look at some techniques and strategies to help you start your exam in a positive manner. So in terms of format, you're given instructions. It says, look at the text below. And you're given 40 seconds to silently read it and understand the text. And then you make your recording, and you've got 40 seconds as well to complete that recording. You'll see that response status window there, and that just times down so you know when to start and when to stop. Lastly, you'll get your stimulus. That's the text that you need to read aloud. So during that 40 seconds, what you want to do is, and I'll just get my pointer, just want to read through that carefully, looking for any vocabulary, items that may be unfamiliar, but understanding the meaning, what this topic is. So in this example, we've got tea is an aromatic beverage prepared by pouring hot or boiling water over cured or fresh leaves of an evergreen shrub native to China and other East Asian countries. After water, it's the most widely consumed drink in the world. Right? So it's important you understand what you're reading and pause at the appropriate times. So let's break down that further, shall we? So you've got the skills that are tested, reading and speaking. Two skills, the ability to read the text, and secondly, the ability to speak it as fluently and with as good a pronunciation as possible. On exam day, you'll get 6 to 7 of these texts, and you're given approximately 30-40 seconds to prepare, and then 40 seconds to read it. And the length of the text is usually 40 to 60 words, commonly 3 sentences, could be 2 sentences, could be 4 sentences, but very commonly 3 sentences. In terms of the assessment, well, it's one of those integrated scoring tasks that you get with PTE. So you will earn marks for both reading and speaking. And you'll be rated on a scale of 0 to 5 based on the following criteria. Number 1 is content. Well, that's reading every word that you see. So to earn the maximum points, don't add words, don't skip words, don't replace words. That's the key. And that means don't rush. And we'll look at that in a bit more detail shortly. Pronunciation, ranging from non-English to native-like, again, 0 to 5. And fluency, 0 fluency to native-like. And I'm going to be your native speaker in this video, so I'll give you some models that you can copy to develop that natural rhythm and flow. Let's look at our strategies. So for pre-reading, you need to use that 30 to 40 seconds before the microphone opens to mentally read the text in your head. Pay attention to punctuation. Full stops and commas will tell you where and when to pause. Chunking is important. You need to identify words that can be grouped together to create a natural rhythm. For example, adverbs and nouns, adjectives and nouns, verbs and nouns, even articles and nouns. Try to identify which words naturally go together, and I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment. Meaning is crucial. You need to understand what you're reading if you want to be able to apply the appropriate stress and intonation when you speak. And you should consider that read it as if you're explaining something to the audience. There's a listener, there are people listening to you, and you're explaining. Do not read it in a robotic manner. You must understand, and that will be picked up by the algorithm that's assessing your flow of information. For vocabulary, check for unfamiliar words and consider how to pronounce them. and give yourself a little bit of time to do that. Don't get too stressed about it. You may not know how to pronounce them all, but the more you practice, the better you'll get. Then, when the tone sounds, you start speaking. Now, while reading, do not rush and aim to speak in a natural manner, as if you're reading to that audience. Add stress to words where appropriate, such as verbs, adverbs, adjectives, and nouns. De-stress the unimportant words. These are the articles and the prepositions. Employ longer pauses for full stops and shorter pauses for commas. Few things to be aware of. Don't repeat a word, even if you mispronounce it the first time. If you do, that'll be counted as a repetition and you'll lose a point. And for each false start or hesitation that you make as you read, you'll lose a point. So there are a lot of things. It requires a lot of practice and skill. But if you do enough practice, then you'll be able to keep that under control. Let's look at our first strategy, pausing at appropriate times. You want to employ longer pauses for full stops and shorter pauses for commas. Now, on the left-hand side, you can see the text that you would read, but on the right-hand side, I've added some spaces, and I'm just going to demonstrate how you would read this naturally. Now, you've got 40 seconds to read through. Try it yourself first, then compare with the model answer that I'm going to provide. Over centuries, scientists have extracted various scientific laws from countless observations, hypotheses, and experiments. These scientific laws are, in a sense, the rules of the game that nature plays. Furthermore, the rules that determine the motion of the stars are the same laws that determine the arc of a baseball after a batter has hit it. How'd you go? Could you complete that in about 40 seconds? Could you pause at the appropriate time? Was your rhythm similar to mine? That's your skill. Let's go to the next one, everyone. Now we're going to look at chunking words. So what you can do here, you can develop fluency and a natural manner by chunking words. Commonly, articles and prepositions are chunked with nouns. And I just want to demonstrate this for you. So again, on the left, we have your text. Allow 40 seconds to read it. All right, here's my example. Following the implementation of a sugar tax, Chile saw a 25% drop in the consumption of sugary drinks. This can translate into few instances of obesity, hypertension, and diabetes. In other words, a lot of lives are saved and healthcare costs are lowered, not only for people who develop these chronic conditions, but also for the whole country sharing that financial burden. So I think you can see my rhythm and just have a listen. Following the implementation of a sugar tax, Chile saw, those words are linked, in the consumption of obesity. In other words, a lot of lives, not only, but also the whole. So you can see what happens here is a consonant of one word. Here's our consonant, and it attaches to the next vowel. And that gives us the flow of obesity, lot of lives, right? Another, that N joins the O, in other words. So practice this. This is crucial for you to develop that natural rhythm of the language. Okay, let's try another example. So meaning, Meaning is one of the most important parts of this exam. You can get a lot of marks for meaning if you understand what you read. That's the key. It's a language test. You need to understand. By understanding, you can apply the appropriate stress and intonation when you speak. The more you read, the better you will get at this skill. The words to stress are the ones that carry important information. Your nouns, your verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. And you're going to de-stress words, your articles and prepositions and conjunctions, because they'll just flow together as groups of words. So again, we've got a topic, global food waste. On the left-hand side, we've got our text. You've got 40 seconds to read it. Try to understand it. Now, I'm going to read this aloud, and I want you to think about the way that I'm reading it, not too quickly, and I'm reading it as if I was explaining something to an audience. So I am reading with purpose. I'll give you your 40 seconds to read that, practice yourself, then compare with this model that I'm going to demonstrate. According to the United Nations, 1/3 of the food produced worldwide ends up on the rubbish heap. An affront not only to the 800 million people threatened by hunger, but to the climate as well. If global food waste were a country, it would be the 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases after China and the USA, with 3.3 billion tons of carbon dioxide emitted annually. Now that's quite a challenging text to read. I have to really focus when I'm reading, and I'm really aiming at precision. I don't really want to make an error with these words. And the only way I can do that is to really concentrate and speak at an even rhythm. Just practice that skill. You can get a lot of points in this read aloud section if you practice and can speak with control and accuracy. Now, another important strategy is not to add, skip, or replace words. Because if you do, every time you make a mistake, you're going to lose a mark. Now, the key to not losing marks in this area is not to rush. Remain calm as you read. Really keep your eye on the text. Just read it in a deliberate, calm, natural manner. Now you can see on the right-hand side some errors, and I'm going to read it with the error and talk about it. According to the popular legend, oops, I've just said a word that wasn't there. Easy to do. According to our popular legend. So be careful, and this is a common one, just replacing with the. The coffee plant was discovered by an Ethiopian goat herder. He notified that when his goats were nibbling on the bright red berries. Whoops, I've said notified instead of noticed. I read half of it, but I didn't really read it carefully enough, and I created a new word, easy to do. The computer, of course, the algorithm will pick that up. He noticed that when his goats were nibbling on the bright red berries of a certain bush, they became more than energetic. Huh? What happened? I just said an extra word because I know more than often goes together, but it didn't in this case. So again, I wasn't concentrating. Another point deduction. They became more energetic, so chewed on the fruit himself. Whoops, I've just skipped a word. Again, easy to do. Now, these are the things you want to avoid when you're reading aloud, because you will lose marks. All right, so if I read it one more time correctly, notice again that I'm really, really concentrating. I'm going to stare at the text. I'm just going to read the text. That's all I'm interested in. But I've pre-read it, that 40 seconds, to get an understanding of the topic. According to a popular legend, the coffee plant was discovered by an Ethiopian goat herder. He noticed that when his goats were nibbling on the bright red berries of a certain bush, they became more energetic. So he chewed on the fruit himself. Little did he know, his finding would start a global love of coffee that exists to this day. So even then you heard me go, I almost said love, a global love of, right? So tricky, isn't it, to read aloud? Even as native speakers, we can sort of have a little bit of difficulty here. So we want to go slowly, clearly. Practice is the key. Now, we've got some great tasks on this page, everyone. So get stuck in, practice those tasks. For everyone you see on this page, there is a recording. So after you complete the task, do take the time to play back the recording of the native speaker. You'll hear lots of different accents there, but they're all teachers and they've all got that lovely rhythm. So you can work on your pronunciation, your flow, and reading for meaning. If you practice hard and do all these things, the read aloud section will be a breeze. Good luck.